Welcome to Lesson 8 of Intro to Programming. I hope you're all doing well. We're going to dive into classes. So classes, they're like a blueprint for constructing objects. Objects are everywhere in Python, so numbers, strings, variables, lists, and more are all objects. Objects have a type that determines what can be done with them, and objects can have variables called attributes and functions called methods. So let's take a look at this basic class right here. We have a class for, our class name is person, and we've got an age, a name, and a location. So we can reference the data that's in this class. So the variable person becomes an object. We can print out the attributes as we need them. We can also redefine attributes as well. So if we take a look at, let's just do the first one. We'll do one at a time. So person is, we're setting a variable, and this variable is an instance of the class person. Then we can print the person's name, or the age rather. And you can see down here we get 24. We can print their name, which down here is John Doe. And then finally their location. New York, New York. Alright. So we could update or create new data inside of our class. Let's go ahead and comment this out. And then we'll come down here and uncomment these. So now we've set person.name. That attribute is Jackson Pollock. And you'll see we're saying this is an instance of this class, so the person. So person being the variable here references this class, and when you add a .name, you're just adding an attribute that exists in that space. So now if we print, oops, there we go, and do that, there you go. You can see their name now is Jackson Pollock. Alright, let's go ahead and comment this out. Alright, let's look at another example. Let's say we're making a game and we have a character class that we can use as a template. In this case, we have a special function or method that gets run whenever we reference the class. When using a method inside a class, you need to declare the variables as self.variable. Also, when Python creates the object, it passes it as the first argument, which is why self is always the first argument in the dunder init dunder method. Any other arguments can be placed after that. So let's take a look at all of that in a class so you can see what we're talking about. Alright. So we have our class and its character. And then we have this method here, which, remember, a method is just a function that is inside of an object. So we are defining the variables or accepting variables up here. So remember, whenever you do variables in a method or attributes, because remember attributes are just variables inside of an object. So in this case, we pass the self argument or the self variable first. It just needs that in order to run the method properly. And then we have three other variables here, h, d, and s. Alright, so we're setting self.health, and when you're inside of a method, you've got to put self in front of it, so it knows that you're not just creating a random variable called health, but you're creating one that is in reference to this class. So, self.health, and that's going to be equal to h. Self.damage is equal to d. Self.speed is equal to s. Alright. Let's take a look at these. So we have two different kinds of characters. Let's say we have a warrior, and it's referencing the character class, and what we're doing is we're assigning values to these variables in calling this object. So we're saying warrior is going to be a character. The first value that it can affect is h. Remember, self is its own thing. So the first value we can do anything with is h. So, and then h is down here with the health. So the health is going to be 100. D for damage is going to be 50. And speed for 10, or speed is going to be 10. So let's say we create another character, and he's a ninja. Little less HP, little less damage, but more speed. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and leave those for a minute. Okay, we're just going to take a quick break from talking about classes for just a second. I want to show you what an F string is. So this is another way of formatting text. With F strings, you can put expressions directly in the string. This is the same as printing warrior speed, colon, and then plus warrior speed. So all we're doing here, these are still print statements, but we're going to say F, we have to put the F in front of this to declare this as an F string. So it's going to say F and then warrior speed, and then instead of having to end the quotes and then add a plus, we're just including the variable we want inside of these curly braces. So this is the same as like this example up here, and then let's go ahead and print these out. There we go. It printed out just like we would have expected it to. Alright, let's take another look at our final class. Okay. Alright, here's another example. So we have our class salesperson, and then we have underscore underscore init underscore underscore method. This is usually referred to as dunder, init dunder, or just dunder init. And the init function gets run, or the init method gets run when you reference this class. So remember, self is the first attribute that you have to list, and then we can actually start using them after that. So we have first name and last name, and we have self.firstName is equal to first name, self.last name is equal to last name. Then we have inside the class, and it's outside of this method, we have the sales attribute here, and that's set to 0. And then we have another function that we're calling makeSale, and anytime you have a method in a class, you need to pass in the self variable first. And then we're going to say the sale value is equal to, or sale value is self.sales plus equals sale.value. So this is the same thing as printing self.sales equals self.sales plus sale value. And then we have the sale report. Alright, so we have another F string here, and it prints my total in sales is, and then we have our $sign, and then the curly braces and self.sales, because we're referencing sales up here. Let's see. Oh yeah, because this self.sales is being defined up here and then added down here. So after all of that, let's go ahead and undo these or uncomment these one at a time. John is equal to salesperson, and his name is going to be John Doe, because remember we set the first name and last name up here. So John is going to make a sale of $600. And if we go ahead and run this, you'll see nothing happens. That's because we're not printing anything yet. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to print John first name, and then John last name, and then finally John.sales report is going to run this final method here. Let's go ahead and run everything. Alright, his name is John Doe. My total in sales is 600, which is what we would expect. Okay, that's gonna do it for the lesson. Let's take a look at the assignment. So all I want you to do is write code to assign one more user and their values, and then print out their locker number in a print statement. So let's say, we have two users here, John and Eric, and let's say I wanted the grade percent for John. I would do print, let's see, John dot grade percent, and there we go. And then if we do that, there we go. We see John's grade percent is 80. So just create another user, so another instance of the student class, and then you'll want to print out the locker number for that user. All right, so now that that's done, let's take a look at, let's see here. There we go. We're going to open a folder. And so last time when we did loops, you worked on FizzBuzz. So here we are. Alright, so you were to write a program that prints the numbers from 1 to 100, but for multiples of 3 print fizz instead of the number, and for multiples of 5 print buzz, and for numbers which are multiples of both 3 and 5 print FizzBuzz. Alright, so this is probably similar to what you have. You have a for loop, and we're just doing a variable for a range of 1 to 101, because remember you have to include one more than at the end of the range than what you actually are planning to use. Alright, and then we say if I is modulo 3 is equal to 0 and I modulo 5 is equal to 0, we're going to print fizzbuzz. If elif I modulo 3 is equal to 0, print fizz. I modulo 5 is equal to 0, print buzz. And if none of that is true, then just print I, which will print out the number. And this works just fine. There we go. And you can see it does work. But this gets unwieldy. Let's say we wanted to add in a multiple for 7 too. Let's say we wanted to add in bang. So fizz, buzz, and bang. So you would have to print two different combo things and then the 3 combos at the top. So it just gets complicated pretty fast. So a more future-proof way to do this, and full disclosure, I pulled this from a website, and you can look at the website here, but what this does is it creates a dictionary called fizzbuzz and adds fizz, buzz, whiz, and bang as the keys, and 3, 5, 7, and 11 as values. So we still have our for loop, and it's from range 1 to 101. And then we have this variable called output. So for key and value in fizzbuzz items, so let's say for every key value pair in fizzbuzz items, or in the dictionary items, if I modulo value is equal to 0, you're going to say output is equal to output plus the key, and that just adds the key to output. And then at the end here, we print output or I. The print statement will ensure only a non-empty object will be printed. So, as we don't want output to print nothing, so that's why we print the output or I. So, I hope that made sense. Feel free to take a look at it and ponder it if you need to. If you have any questions on this lesson's homework, reach out to me and we will figure out what we can do. And I think that's going to do it for this lesson. So I hope you all had a good time solving this, and we will see you in the next lesson. Bye now.